First things first, before we get going here, I want to thank all you guys. I know today was a little different with everything we have going on today. The players were first, and you guys hung around for me, so appreciate that. They're the kind of they're still here and listening, so they're the star of the show anyway, right, Sutton? Yeah, there you go. No, I'm excited. I'm excited about the year. I'm excited about the team. Excited about today. We have another event after this, and you know, you know me, guys. I wear it on my sleeve. So we got some real good news today that I can't share anything about, but I'm fired up about that. So we'll leave you wondering a little bit about that too. But so it's just it's a good day on the whole deal. So we'll get into the season, though. I think it's going to be a great challenge. That's the simple, short answer. If I was drawing it up and I had the sole pen to draw up a season this way, I probably would not have picked it, but this is what we have as far as a schedule, and super excited about it. I really am. I think the guys would echo that. I'm sure you talked to them already. We're going to get together and talk about the whole season, probably the first day of fall camp, but then that's it. That's the only time we'll address the whole season. I'll do it today here with you guys, and then we'll do it once with the guys at camp, and then it's been all about Iowa, really. And it will be continue to be all about Iowa because it's the only way we know how to do things, to be honest. This game is so difficult enough that if you try to tackle, well, we got to win this many games or we have to do this much, you're going to fail. So we really do take it one time. And I know the process has become kind of a sexy thing with Alabama and everything and all that. And, let them have that, but we've had the hard way for a long time, and to me that's the same thing. And that's just how we go about things, and we're not going to change it in any way, shape, or form. So I'll take you through kind of offense, defense, and then we'll kind of field some questions. Does that sound good to everybody? All right. So offensively, it feels good to have your quarterback established. I know he wasn't at the beginning of last year, but he's established as a starter going in. He needs to improve. I think he has. And Marcus, I think we have real capable backups. Obviously, Ryan Graham has played a ton of football for us. Feel real good about the other two as well, Anthony Thompson and Rodney Hall. I think we have some good young talent there at the quarterback. And then up front, we obviously have everybody back. And I've told the O-line this, but it wasn't good enough last year up front. Probably for the first time in my time at NIU, it wasn't good enough up front last year. And so we got everybody back, and I think they realized that too, and they're really working to correct that. And I saw a lot of progress in spring, and I know that they have gone ahead and kept that going this summer, talking to Coach Ort, our strength coach, because our time is so limited with them in the summer, guys. So I don't have a ton more information than what I saw coming out of spring and then what I hear from Coach Ort on that. Wide receivers are probably the young group, but they're obviously going to be led by Spencer and DJ. They've played a lot of football at this point in their careers. Spencer and DJ are having fantastic summers. I know DJ's in an internship right now, and he's sick of working, so he's excited to get back to football. Talked to him the other day. But there's going to be a host of young guys in there, and I think Cole Tucker, Dennis Robinson, Leon Payne, Jiran, Amir, just a host of guys, Fotis. It's a good group. I think they have a chance to be an explosive group is what I think they have a chance to be. Who will do that on a consistent basis has yet to be seen. We're certainly going to lean on the two guys that I mentioned at the start right there to really lead us, and really excited about that group. Tight ends, we lost Dan Crawford in the spring, probably for the season. He did an ACL, so he has a chance to come back. We'll see how his progress is going. To date, he's doing really well. So that'll be a mid-season to late-season decision as we get in and see how that thing goes with him. But Mitch Brinkman is back, who's played a lot of football in key situations for us. Ty Harmston is back as well. And then we got some good young guys behind them. So I think tight end's going to be an area where we have some experience as well. That thing, running backs, quite frankly, I think the running backs room will probably be the best in the conference. And I lay that out as a challenge, not to disgrace anybody else. But if it isn't the best in the conference, then we haven't done something right and they haven't done something right. So it needs to be the best room in the conference, and I think it can be. with what you have coming back in Trey Harbison, Marcus Jones, and then you add some other guys in there, and then the young guy, Jordan Nettles, in there too. So I think it can really be pretty good. On defense, obviously it was the strength of our team last year. You look at the numbers, and I think sometimes numbers lie, and you can manipulate them. In our defense's case last year, they did not lie. It was the strength of our team. It was dominant for the majority of the season and really sparked our offense. And we have a lot of guys coming back off that. In the back end, you have McKelty, you have Albert, you have Jalen, who've played a lot of football, TQ and Trey Foster. All those guys have played extensive minutes. I know TQ got hurt in the Boston College game last year with his Achilles and was out the rest of the year. But if you rewind to 16, when we had a hand grenade go off in the locker room and a lot of guys got hurt, he was playing as a redshirt freshman. And so he played in a lot of games that year. So you're talking about 5 guys right there, along with Devontae Hunt, who played in the bowl game after he became eligible. Really a lot of experience right there. And then you go up the middle. Obviously, KP, Kyle Pugh, played in the first 4 games and then had a season-ending injury, but he's back. He's healthy. I think he's excited to get back on the field, and he's certainly excited to see him play and go. You know, in the first 4 games, that was the best middle linebacker we've had in my time here in those 4 games. So I think he needs to build off that and use that and go forward, and he's accepting that challenge. Antonio Jones-Davis, when KP went out, he was a backup last year, but then Antonio played the entire conference season at middle linebacker with Alex Schwab there, so he'll step into a starting role as well. And then you got some young guys outside, led by Lance DeVoe, who played a lot in the 2016 season as a true freshman, and then last year was in a backup role, a little bit with special teams and things like that because of Juwan Johnson being there. Now with Juwan leaving, Lance is going to start out there, but then we got some good young guys in, Jordan Cole, Rayshawn Gay, Danny Walker, and those guys. So experience there too, obviously. And then up front, we return, all 4 guys, and then we return some depth behind them as well. Obviously, Sutton gets all the headlines, deservedly so. When you put up those kind of historic numbers, the accolades come, and that's just the way it is. The challenge for Sutton is that he needs to play that good again, and he may play even better, and he may never touch those numbers again because those are historic numbers. Now, I know he's sitting back there and hearing that, and he's like, I'm going to get them, and that's what I want him to think, and I want him to go get numbers like that again, but those are historic numbers. And you got Ben Leroy, Weston Kramer, and Josh Corcoran, who missed. Josh, is going to be a senior this year. He missed the last 3 conference games last year and still was all conference. So, he was playing unbelievable opposite of Sutton right there. And then you got Quentin Wynn, who had the same foot injury, and he was coming at the end. So he's a good backup, and Draquan Brown backing up Sutton. And then you got Mike Kennedy, a good young guy at D-end, along with Matt Lohrbeck, who played substantial as a true freshman last year. And there's going to be some great competition going on D-end. And don't get comfortable is what I've told them all, because you got 6 guys, 5 of which have played a lot of football. And Mike Kennedy, I think, who can, if he keeps focus there. Mike's got to keep a little focus every once in a while, but if he can, he's going to be pretty good too. And then inside, you got Ben, Weston, Heflin. He's coming off an off-season injury that's really kind of dragged on here for him. I know he's frustrated with it, and we're supporting him in it, but he'll be there in the end, along with Devin Webster, who played a lot of football last year. Marcus Kelly will be in that mix as well. And then you had the young guy, Jeff Griffin, in there, who we expect to get into the mix right there. So, as you can just tell, as you talk about the defense, and I've told them, pressure's on. It's that simple. When you're coming off a year where you were that good and you have that many guys coming back, can you do it again? Sustains that excellence is the hardest thing in sports to do. And they have that challenge right in front of them. And we as a program have that right in front of us. I think over the course of the years, we've had sustained excellence. I know we had a little hiccup there in 2016, but that's the biggest challenge, is to get and hold that excellence as you keep going through there. Kicking-wise, brought in a grad transfer, Andrew Gantz, from Cincinnati a couple years ago. He was on one of those lists for best kicker in the nation. And then got beat out with the coaching change at Cincinnati last year. Transferred us as a grad transfer. I'm happy to have him. He has a live leg. I'm really looking forward to seeing him, kick the ball through the upright, which he was doing in spring for the most part. I know he wasn't happy with his performance in the spring. There were times I wasn't as well, but I think there was some rust there and, new schemes and new players, and I think he'll be a lot more comfortable. Hayden Sack, our long snapper, he's been snapping since I put him in at that Ohio State game as a true freshman when we bounced a couple back there. So there ain't nothing that's going to shake that kid. And I think he's got a chance to be a snapper in the NFL, quite honestly. I don't think that there's a better one. If there's a better one in the nation, I'd like to know who it is. With that. And then with our punter coming back, Matt Ferentz, here's a kid who was a walk-on true freshman, wins the punting job and comes out, and I put him on scholarship. I think he did a heck of a job last year. I don't know what his average was, but I know it was a lot better punt game last year than it was the year before. And in that case, I think the numbers lie a little because I think the numbers were about equal, but the consistency was a lot better last year. I'm looking forward to Matt taking a step and becoming the guy that we see in practice because he has a live leg as well with that. So with that, I think I covered it all. We have some new faces on the coaching staff this year, which I'm really excited about, and Walter Stewart coaching our D-line, Tyler Yelk coaching our safeties. Right there, Jeff Knowles stepping into the defense coordinator role, and then Dan Sabach, coming on board. Last year he was on board as our special teams coordinator, but this year officially as the 10th assistant to be that full-time for us. So I'm really excited about those guys coming on, along with Jake, being able to bring Jake Landry back. He was a graduate assistant. He played, funny story about Jake. So I'm on the staff at North Dakota. He's the quarterback at North Dakota in 2010. We come down and play Northern Illinois, and we lose a tight game, 23-17. And then years later, I'm the head coach. He's a GA, and then he goes out to lacrosse, UW lacrosse, OC for a couple years, and then we're able to bring him back. So every time he walks out on the field, he catches a little grief from me, like, why couldn't you complete one more pass? We would have beat him. So, but a little inside between him and I. So really excited about the staff and the way the whole thing is going right now. Now, all my excitement is all tempered by one thing. We got work to do. And that's plain and simple. We can feel as good as we want. We can look as good as we want on paper. And none of that matters if we don't do the work. And I guarantee you, with this team's attitude and the way they are bonded and they're together so far, I don't think they'll have a problem doing the work. I'm anxious to see the first time they hit adversity. That's what I'm anxious to see. And we're going to try to go ahead and create that for them in practice because I want to see how they react because they're a tight group and they're a fun group to be around. One of my favorite ever that I've coached so far to this point. That doesn't mean anything other than I like them. So what are they going to do when they stub their toe? And what does stubbing their toe mean? In practice, in a game, in a play in a game, what does that mean? And we're going to find out. And I think the expectations have been laid out for us, and we've communicated that to the team, and they've communicated back if they agree or disagree with those expectations. And now we know, listen, it's time to go to work. And if we hit the expectations, the rewards come. If we don't hit the expectations, the consequences come. And that's as plain and simple as it can be. And I think that's a big thing in today's, way of handling young guys is that these guys are all bought in. They understand. The real world sums up of here's your job, you do it, you get the rewards. You don't, you get the consequences. And in today's society, it's like, oh, it's okay all the time. In football, it's not okay. You have to have something and strive for it and meet it. And I think those guys are fired up to meet those expectations. So I'll get off my pulpit right there, and we'll take some questions. Yeah, there we go.
You want to know how they react to adversity, that not having to schedule a little after for you. What do you look forward to seeing from this group, looking at what you have to go through those first few years?
Well, we've walked into Iowa before. None of these guys were on the team when we have, but we've walked into Iowa before, and adversity, like you said, is going to hit them, before the opening snap, because those guys are right on top of you. The sideline's about from me to the wall. That's how deep it is. And Iowa has a great setting, and they have great fans. And we're going to have our contingent right off in the corner. And when we score, it's going to be great. But if they ever score, it's really loud. So when we're running onto that field, it's adversity is going to hit them right there. So I don't know. I'll tell you when they get there. We're going to get them prepared for it, but I'll tell you when we get there.
How do you manage the mentality? You talked about not wanting to talk about a schedule all the time with them, and just looking at the next game, I guess, is the idea. But how do you keep it from becoming this overwhelming thing and
Yeah. You know, with social media, I can't control all of that. All I can tell them is the importance of staying focused at one foot in front of the other. That's all I can tell them. And we have a great roadmap of what not to do. When that, you know, when we went through 2016 and we had injuries and people kind of had a big, you know, kind of broad view of what needed to happen, none of it happened. And so a lot of these guys were on that team, a lot of those guys played, and they learned from that you've got to be focused, and they learned that last year. And quite frankly, it's not just a week by week, it is a minute by minute thing, because you look at the Central Michigan game last year, I would have bet my house our defense wouldn't have given up 31 points and a half. And they did. And that's because we didn't stay focused on one foot in front of the other. So all I can do is tell them. And then they have a roadmap of understanding this works, this doesn't.
First game ever in charge against Florida State.
Yeah.
6 years later, coming full circle, how do you see how much you've grown, how you'll approach that game differently?
Well, it's, I mean, two completely different teams, and with all due respect to Coach Taggart, two completely different head coaches. And I'm not saying that in a bad way to Coach Taggart. I'm saying he's brand new, and 6 years later, I mean, it's not 30 days into being named head coach. I've been through some things, and that's not that I've been right every time, certainly not, but what I've hoped to have done is learned from the times I'm wrong. Listen, it'll be a lot of these guys' first time going down to that stadium. In the Orange Bowl, they did the tomahawk chop, but from what I hear, the whole place does the tomahawk chop when they're there. So it'll be different.
How are you different 6 years later?
Well, you know, you got a beer and some time, I can tell you, but yeah. I'll tell you, you know, you're not thrown into it anymore. I think you learn, and I think you grow. And the biggest thing that I think I've realized in my time is the importance of an old adage that, you know, I've known my whole coaching career. It was instilled in me by Coach Mallory. But until you take hold of it, you really don't get it, is that players don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And the relationship side of it, I think, is where I think I've grown more from that. And I think that's selfish. That's for me. You know, I don't know if that has an effect on our team or not. I hope it does. I think it does. But that's where I'd say I have.
Do you think the perception of NIU has changed a lot in 6 years?
The perception. That's a good question. I know the expectations haven't. I can tell you that. The expectations are high. And I've always said this. I love coaching at NIU because the expectations are high. I would not want to be at a place where you're hoping to get to 6-6. That's not something that, you know, fascinates me. Sustained excellence. So perception, I don't know. I'm in the grind. I'm in the weeds every day. So I think I have my own perception that maybe doesn't match everybody else. So I don't know if I can answer that.
Coach Sutton was telling us it wasn't until about halfway through the season that he started getting double teams. Then the triple teams started to come.
Yeah.
Now that he have that laser on his back after the season he put up, how do you think he'll change his mindset heading into games? And what do you expect to see from him growth-wise
Yeah.
coming into this year?
Well, we've had to address that with him already, because what we've done is we showed him the end of the year on film and said, now listen, that's all anybody can do to you. It may be a little different form here and there, depending on the offense you're playing, but that's all somebody can do to you. So you have to make a decision now that eyes are on you of what type of player you're going to be. And it's easy. I know what type of player he's going to be. You know, are you going to accept the challenge that, listen, if they're double and tripling me, those guys over there are going to have a heck of a day because they're good players. And he's accepted that, and he knows that. And that's why I said at the early onset when I was going through this, he may play better as a defensive end this year and not even touch those numbers because of what offenses are going to do to him. But if offenses are always doing that to him, deciding to run at him or double him or chip him or whatever they're going to do, someone else has got to have a one-on-one. And those guys have improved too. No, you're good. Yeah.
How did you see Kyle handle the injury last year? It seemed like, he jumped pretty hard at first.
Yep.
You talked about just kind of trying to find other roles for himself.
Yeah, no, Kyle is, I love Kyle to death because he cares. Okay, so here's something I didn't understand about Kyle. And his dad will probably get mad at me for telling him this because I had to ask his dad. Because every time we would lose a game, even when he wasn't playing, he would be in tears in the locker room afterwards. And I thought there was something wrong. And I didn't understand, Kyle to that point. And his dad goes, no, Coach, you got to understand, those aren't tears of sadness. Those are tears of anger. Anytime in his life that he gets mad, he cries. And Kyle probably pissed at me about this. That's all right. But that's what happened. So when he got hurt, I think initially, you're still around. It's new. I think as it wore on, he grew distant, even though we were trying to reach out. And he grew distant. And we had to really stretch a little bit. And then when he came back, I think, quite honestly, Shannon, he was a little hesitant. And I think he'll admit that. But then when he got his feet wet again and he's going in, I think this summer has been really good for him from the standpoint of, and he said this to me. He goes, when JJ left, he goes, Coach, I'm looking around, and last year I had JJ and Bobby and a lot of old guys bringing me along. And now I got nobody. I go, Kyle, it's your turn to bring people along. I think when he hit that and when he got out this summer, and you can see him embrace when we do in team drills, I think he's grown from that, it's like he doesn't have a safety net anymore. It's him. So I think that's how it kind of all went for him. Well, sideline to sideline, listen, I love Boomer Mays. He was a great linebacker for us for a long time around here. And sideline to sideline, Boomer was as quick as he needed to be, okay? And Boomer was physical. Kyle has embraced being really physical, but he not only is quick side to sideline, he's fast. And that's a big difference for a middle linebacker, not only to have the quickness that you need, but the speed. I think that brings a different element where people can make some mistakes and his speed can make up for it.
Another Big Ten opponent on the schedule this year. Have such a great track record.
Yeah.
Key to secrets of success there.
Yeah, someone brought that up the other day and goes, you're 4-1 against the Big Ten. I go, yeah. Listen, every one of those games has been so different. So when you talk about success or this or that against a conference, I dismiss that right away. Everything is so different every time you play a team from the Big Ten. I played in the Big Ten. I love the Big Ten. I have a lot of respect for it, and I know how hard it is to go in and win a game there. And we've been fortunate. But that past success does not lead to anything for this game. That doesn't guarantee us. That doesn't give us an inroad. That just means we're going to play another one.
What do you think the key is going to be to get the air attack going and kind of balance out?
Yeah, well, actually, we were just talking, me and Coach Urinovich was talking about that this morning. It's just repetition, and I think the big advantage we have going into the season with this is that when you have two receivers and a quarterback back as established players, not a quarterback rotation with Kenny Galladay or a quarterback rotation with a wide receiver rotation, I think just that, it's so much timing. It's so much me and you just throwing over and over and over again to each other and the nuances of that's where it can. So I think that alone, you got DJ, you got Spencer, and you got Marcus. And I think that alone should lead to some more success.
Rod, building off that question with Marcus, how has he improved his all-around game?
Well, I don't have any more information for you than I had coming out of spring ball because we haven't been in pads since then. He's bigger and stronger and faster right now than he was at the end of spring ball. But in spring, I liked what I saw from him. The arm strength is there. I know some people wonder about it, but we see it every day. He has good arm strength. And just his comfort with the offense and running it in spring ball was really good. Yeah.
They all said that they have a lot of good chemistry and camaraderie. How much do you think that does help translate on the field?
Well, I think it can help get you through a tough time. And I see that camaraderie with themselves, but also with the coaches. Like, you know, they were giving me a bunch of crap earlier for walking in and whatever. And that's a good thing. I hope that can help get us through some tough times, because we'd be foolish to think there's been no football team in the history of football, whether you're undefeated or winless, that hasn't gone through adversity. So I would hope that camaraderie helps, because sometimes it can get so heavy when it's going bad. Sometimes you need to lighten it up a little bit. And I think when you have that rapport, you can.
And just the game started, Childers was named the freshman of the year for the MAC. How far as a player do you think he can develop, even from just being thrown into that starting?
Yeah, there's more of the runway in front of him than there is behind, I can tell you that. And that's even coming out of spring, like I was telling Josh earlier, is I think he can progress and go. And with a quarterback, all right, so he's got the base skills, right? That's recruiting and then a little bit of development. But in the quarterback world, you got to have the God-given ability. Well, he's got that. Now, the next part of what I think separates good quarterbacks from great quarterbacks, and good is the enemy of great. Don't get me wrong on any of that. But I think he's in that good category right now. And I think what has to happen is now all the nuances. Now timing with his wide receivers. Now comfort with the offense. Now being able to check a play, check a protection, manage a game situationally. All those things are what will take him from good to great. And if he accomplishes that over and over and over again, starting in practice, I think that's what I'm talking about. There's more runway in front of him than behind him.
At the tight end position, Shane gave you so much production.
Yep.
And then Luke and Dan, just what are you most excited about that group specifically?
Yeah, well, if you look back on it, I think Shane was such a good player for us. I mean, you're not going to replace Shane with just one person. You got to do it as a group. That's first thing. But Shane gave us, when we weren't settled at quarterback and we had some questions at wide receiver with Kenny, Shane gave us that, listen, in doubt, throw it to him, right? And that's what a good tight end does, no matter who was throwing it to him or who was running the routes. I think this year what I'm excited about with the tight ends is that they don't have to be that. They don't have to do everything for us. They just have to be good at what they're good at. I think Mitch and Ty are excellent blockers, and I think Mitch has some ability in the pass game, and Ty certainly as well too. Miss a little with Dan there, because Dan's really good in the pass game, so we miss a little bit that way. But that group doesn't have to be what Shane Wyman was. What they have to be is good at what they are. And I think that's what I'm excited to see.
Anything else, Coach?
You guys are an easy group. All right, good.
You have a transferring kicker this year, and as a coach, you've seen both that mix of solid, dependable kicking and some that might be on the fritz. How important would you say it is to success to have reliable, solid kicking?
Well, just look at our 2014 championship season and look at 2015. So 2014, we pull the red shirt on Christian, and he comes out and really is so solid that we end up winning the national championship. Not because of him, but a lot of confidence there. In 15, we don't ever get into that championship game without Christian and the way he kicked that year. And then unfortunately, Christian had two subpar years in 16 and 17, and it might not have cost us a game or two. I'm not putting that on Christian because there were other factors. But, I'm sick of being bad in the kicking game. That's why we went out and got Gantz, and then we signed Chris Richardson too. We got 3 kickers on scholarship. Well, 2 kickers and a punter on scholarship. So I'm a little fed up with it.
Anything else for Coach?
You guys are in that 2:30, I need a nap mode, aren't you? All right, thanks, guys.
All right.